All right, guys, we are out. We have a flat, calm day of walleye fishing. We're gonna be doing an uncut, raw, no editing video. We're gonna try and catch some fish in kind of the dog days of early summer, I guess. Anytime it's flat, calm like this, walleye fishing can get really tough. So hopefully we can debunk the myth that you can't catch any walleyes on a flat, calm day. So anyway, I got the live scope recording. I just dropped the boat in the lake. I have not looked around at all. In fact, it's probably gonna take us a second to get onto structure because I was just getting everything ready. I got my jigs ready to go. Oh gosh, okay. Well, there are a few fish actually floating around. I got my jigs ready to go. I got the dog ready to go. I got water ready for Zelda. And we're just gonna get into it. Actually, those marks look desirable, so hopefully we catch a couple fish today. I don't know how long I'm gonna let the cameras run. I don't have a lot of time to fish today, so I figured it would just be fun to do one of these uncut videos where we just let the cameras run, see what we catch, and whatever we catch is what you guys see on camera. So let's see, that one that's close kind of looks like might be a weird one to try and catch. The one behind it looks a lot better, but we'll try for the close one first since we're just sitting here. So I'm just dropping a jig and crawler on that fish right here. And it's, oop, here it comes. Let's start out with one with a bite. Come on. Nope. Turn down. All right. Let's reel up really quick and get to that second fish. 40. Okay. We're gonna give this second one a run. I liked, the second one looked like it was a bigger mark. Oh geez, is that the same fish or a different one? He's coming up fast, that's for sure. Kind of looks like it wants to follow it down to the bottom a little bit. So we're gonna see if it'll eat off the bottom. Sometimes on these flat, calm days like this, sometimes you get those fish working up, but other times they just like to eat it off the bottom. Sometimes that's better too because they're not looking up at the boat. Looks like we got that one still kind of poking around in the bottom looking at it. Yep, that one is still on the bottom. I'm just gonna give it a second. I don't like to waste too much time. And if we find out that the bite is really negative and they're really eating off the bottom and it's taking them a while, you know, sometimes that's just what you gotta do to get the bites. But for the most part, I like to kind of keep it moving. Like right now we have 65-degree water temperature, and the fish should be somewhat active in you know how much they're willing to move today. So I'm also trying out a new live scope recorder, so hopefully we don't have any issues with that. Getting out to this fish here and see. That's a pretty good cast. That should work. See if he wants it. Oh, he's got it actually. No, shoot. Pulled it out of its mouth. I gave it to him for 2 seconds, maybe 3 seconds. Dang it. Okay, this might be a decent day, guys. Honestly, I don't even have to spot lock today. Watch out, Zelda, watch out. We also got Zelda pup in here. I don't know if you guys can see her down on the bottom of the screen, but she's probably gonna be, she loves to be in on the action. She's not the kind of dog that likes to lay in the back and just chill. She wants to see what's going on. Dang it, I'm disappointed. I wanted to start off good with that fish. We're not even really on the structure, honestly. We're sort of out off of it. To me, this is a little bit early for fish to really be suspending super hard. Did that fish just disappear after we pulled it out of its mouth? Okay, is that the same fish behind us? Let's see. There's 2 of them over there. Okay, we are getting really off the structure here, honestly. That might not be bad today though, to be real. We're just gonna toss right here. Awkward angle, but I think we got on him. This fish is just really swimming around a lot. Just gonna kind of shake it in place. Not even gonna move it. A lot of times I like to take it away from him and get him to force him to make a decision. So as you guys probably guessed, we got a little jig and a night crawler set up on right now. I always like to start out with the jig and a night crawler, honestly. I feel like it's a really high percentage presentation. I'm gonna bump this range out. There we go. I like that. That guy's high in the water column. I always feel like the ones that are a little higher in the water column are a little bit more active. That one looks just like a big mark too, honestly. But I like to start with the jig and crawler just because, geez, that's really high. It looks like a really big fish. Probably a big walleye. They don't have muskies in this lake. Otherwise, if I was on a muskie lake, I would say there would be a chance that that's a muskie. But yeah, just a jig is just something that's super versatile. I'm gonna try and bomb it out there. Where's my jig? Okay, I don't see it. We're gonna take another cast. Could have waited an extra second, but I'm gonna make a nice little bomb cast out there just to see. Oh, he was turning around to look at it. I reeled up too early. I like to move kind of quick. Just try and get the perfect casting angle. That one is a pretty good angle. Let's see if he'll turn around for it. Nope, I think we ended up getting a little bit too close to that fish. There's always like that, sort of that in-between range where you're trying to be close enough to make a really good accurate cast and really manipulate the bait, but also far enough away from the fish that, you know, you're not negatively impacting whether or not they want to bite. Okay, we're going to start working our way towards that structure now. We're definitely quite a ways off of it, which, like I said, might not be a bad thing. But like water temperatures, 64 right now, which is interesting. So I was just out 3 days ago, and we were seeing anywhere from like 53 to like 58 or so. So I do think we're starting to see that warm up again. We had that cold front. Now we're having a little bit of a warm front where it's not terribly hot, but another thing too you got to consider is surface temperature versus the temperature lower in the water column, where it says it's 64.5 right now, but you know, is that really what it is 10 feet down? No, it's not. It's colder, but how much colder, I'm not sure. Okay, so you can see I've got the range bumped out to like 175. You can see I got the structure and the weeds kind of out in front of me. We're getting a little closer to that now. Looks like I'm seeing a couple right on that weed edge here. And I swear I did not pre-scout this at all. This is my first time on this lake this year. So I just drove out here and dropped on a structure with the thought process that there's probably some fish around. I guess we'll find out. And then I literally hit record and started looking around, and it was like, oh yeah, there they are. So you can see some bait fish on the bottom there too that we're just going over right now. So this little pod right here, that could be a little pot of walleyes, but it also might be a little pot of bass. I mean, I would definitely say probably bass, but we're just gonna find out. Sometimes it's just fun to catch fish. We're just kind of dropping it through that school. You can see him following it down to the bottom. If it's bass, you'll find out in a hurry. That's what I like about bass. You can actually see my line on the live scope if you look. Kind of cool. You don't always see that. But in conditions like this, I'm seeing it. I just jigged it up and down. You saw that fish come up and look. It's kind of cool. We zoom in and take a closer look there. Lift it up, drop it back down. There we go, got one of them. Oops, I keep spot locking out of instinct, but I really don't need to. That is a walleye, so that's a little pot of walleyes there. Jeez. What do you think of that, Zelda? Tasty? That one looks tasty. All right, so first walleye of the day there. If I was keeping, which I'm half tempted to, but I don't think I'm going to. This would be maybe a little bit small to keep, but if I just wanted to put a little, you know, a few of them in the pan, I guess let me know in the comment section if you guys think that's a good keepable size. I would keep that on a lot of days, honestly. Sometimes, you know, 2 or 3 of those littler ones can be just good enough, honestly. The fish are actually somewhat bitey today, it seems like. So we'll see how we play it. For a lot of these suspended fish, it's really hard to beat the jig. Sometimes bobbers can be good, but there's just so much variability to where these fish are setting up in the water column that it's nice to just have a jig and not have to worry about resetting a bobber over and over again. So jigs are handy for that. Fish set up on the bottom like that, honestly, I actually have more success with a drop shot than a jig like this, but when I'm just running around trying to figure out a pattern, figure out what's going on, the jig is nice because you can just cast it suspended fish, you can cast it fish on the bottom, you can cast it fish over the weeds, you can cast it fish on the bottom of the break, you can cast it fish up on a sand flat. All those fish up there, if I was interested in casting in there, you know, I could just work that bait near those fish. God, there's a lot of fish. Here's the thing about those fish, so you know, there may be some walleye interest in there, but you're almost never gonna find big ones in a pot of you know, marks that look like that. Sometimes too, if you look carefully behind, you know, you might see like a big mark kind of hiding out behind a school of smaller ones, but for the most part, if I'm going to be looking for a big one, a lot of times I'm going to find them kind of up in the weeds here, where you'll find sort of an individual plus-sized mark. And the scope angle's reading a little bit funny at the moment, but it's workable here. So we're kind of getting into the thick of it. I'm going to turn a little bit of a right here and kind of run along the edge of this, kind of. So unfortunately my cell phone isn't working, and usually I'll record my map on the cell phone. There's one right there at 40. Where'd he go? Usually I'll record my map with the phone, so you guys just have a general idea of what the structure I'm fishing looks like. But right now we're kind of on a sort of like a finger, and obviously there's weeds up on top of it, and it drops down into deep water, and that's where some of those suspended fish are. Some, looks like there's some right there. Little school of fish. There's quite a few fish along the weed edge, kind of. We've looked on 2 or 3 different spots now along the edge here, and I'm seeing them in both spots. This lake also has a lot of bass, so it's always something to consider. But as you can see, some of those marks that look like bass are walleyes sometimes, as we saw from that first fish. Let's just toss into this little pod just for the fun of it. We're not going to let this one crash, we're just going to work it through. See if we can get something to make a quick choice. I don't want to spend too much time shaking a crawler on the bottom. Alright, that does not look like the kind of thing we want to catch. Now that one over there looks like it's decent on the back side of that weed clump. When it's really quiet like this, a really flat calm, you got to be careful just about how you're sneaking onto these fish. Yeah, it's tough to tell if that's just another smaller one in that bigger group. God, that's a crazy little pot of fish. That's actually a different pot of fish than what we were looking at earlier. Whatever's going on here, there is a lot of it. Probably some bass and walleye, truthfully. Just tossing there for the fun of it. It's just a night crawler, right? Jeez. I might just stick an LMB for you guys just for the fun of it. Alright, you know what I got tied on? I got a Ned rig. You could throw a Ned rig on. Sometimes it's fun to throw a little Ned in there. Just poke one quick. See me dropping down at about 53. Just kind of pop that bait. See if we can get one to go. If we can't get one to go, I mean, it could be bass, but it might mean it's walleyes. But of course, I do always struggle with this stuff because a lot of times, man, we could get into that. If that is a little pot of walleyes, we could get into it. Or, you know, we could spend some time trying to hunt down something a little bit bigger. Like that first fish that I lost, I would say that one was a big walleye. Yeah, this is not like a big pot of desirable fish, but we're gonna keep on moving and looking for some bigs. Ooh, what about that guy back there? That one looks like it's got some size. Oh, watch out, Zelda. Yeah, I like him. That one looks big. That's a good cast right on him. Bouncing it right over his head. Let's make one more cast. Hard part with no wind is you kind of do run up on these fish a little bit. Now we're pulling it right over them. Okay, let's move on to the next one here. Thought I saw something out here to the right. I might be mistaken. So this is actually Monday. Memorial Day specifically. So the last day of Memorial Day weekend. I don't have any microphones on because it's flat calm. You know, I'm just talking right to my camera here. But I think you guys are gonna end up picking up. There's a jet ski right there. There's a wake boat right there. Pontoon just past the jet ski. Pontoon, speedboat. Oh, there's also a fishing boat right on that point there. What's that? Looks like maybe we're actually gonna hang a right instead of following this weed line down. I almost kind of like the jet skis because it makes it so I can talk a little bit more. Flat calm day like this, you can actually hear you can hear me talking halfway across the lake, honestly. Alright, let's kick this range out. We're going into a little bit of suspendo land here for a second. See if we can find any more of those big ones floating around like we saw earlier. Let's kick the trolling motor speed up a little bit too. On a day that's so flat calm like this, I don't necessarily need to go to 10 when I'm trying to move really fast. But 7 or 8 is good. That jet ski boat, or not jet ski, what do you call those? Wake boats? Sitting right on a hump that's off the tip of this. So we're still gonna work in that direction. Alright, so what I'm doing here is I'm just kind of working this adjacent area adjacent to this structure. As you see when I spin here, you know, you can see the structure out here to the right. To the left, it's, you know, drops off pretty hard. But I've got the range set out really far. A lot of times you can just see those fish. Pretty plain as day, even with a range at like 175. Alright, so we're working towards a little hump here. I do like humps. So this is a hump with a saddle. So a point, saddle, and a hump. Like, those are just like my favorite types of setups because fish love using saddles. Humps, oftentimes they're just super isolated, so you can cover them. You know, they hold fish, they attract fish, but they're just so isolated that you can really cover them super well, and it doesn't take too long. So we're kind of sneaking up onto the top of the hump here. It's not really that deep. It's like a 14-foot hump. Oh, there's one. So that's the kind of thing. So as you can see, that's actually out beyond 100 feet. So I wouldn't have seen that fish yet if I had my range set at 100, which I usually like to do. But now I have a little bit of forewarning, so I can kind of slow down, mellow out a little bit, and I don't have to worry about putting the brakes on as I sneak up to that fish. Look at that though. That fish just swam down to the bottom. You can kind of see it right there at 52, 50. He's like right there. Let's see if we can, oops. I just cast it off my crawler. Yeah, that fish was sneaking down to the bottom though. It just goes to show you on a day that's flat calm like this, you're gonna have fish that maybe don't really care. You know, they're active, they're swimming around, and then you have other fish that are a little bit more skittish, and you don't even have to get that close to them, and they start pushing down. I want to say that fish was at like 70 or 80 when it started pushing down, so it didn't take very long, and we were not moving very fast. It's not like we had waves slapping against the side of our boat or anything like that. I was really just kind of like drifting over to the fish. Let's get that night crawler on there good. Pinch off a little bit of the tail. Clean the dirt off my hands. Okay. Oh, there's one floating right there, just waiting for me. Okay. Where are we at here? See how that goes. That one does not look huge. I guess we'll see. Oh, here he comes. Oh, he's got it already. 3, 2, there we go. Does not feel huge. It feels better than the last one at least, which is a good start. Let's see what species we got. The way it's struck, it could be a pike. Uh-oh, nope, we got a walleye. I'm gonna grab the net, even though it's not giant. I'm just not ready to lose a fish already. At least one that we got hooked up with. Now this is like a better sized eater. There we go. So this is on the large side of the eater spectrum. Sick. Once again, if we were eating today, ooh, Zelda, what do you think of him? Zelda likes that one. There we go. This one's like pushing 20. It's just a high teener, 19 something. Might even be able to salvage that crawler. Doesn't happen very often, but there you go. Looks like lunch. If we were out for the harvest anyway. All right, let's get him back. All right, Zelda. What do you think? That was a good one, wasn't it? Yeah, that was a good one. All right, let's see if we really can salvage that crawler. There goes a bass boat. All right, so that was kind of an interesting one. It wasn't a big suspendo. It wasn't really suspended too much. Kind of just down off the bottom, but we're sort of at the base of that hump right now. Looks like everything's still recording too, which is a good sign. The live scope and the camera as well. All right, look at all that bait out there. Let's bump this range out. Oh, Zelda, come here. You don't need to eat that night crawler though. All right. Looks like there's another fish right out at the end there. Oops, Zelda. When Zelda was walking over, she turned the foot pedal off. Okay, so this one is more of a suspendo. Man, you guys saw the way that last one popped off though. I mean, that thing came up at about 100, which is all you can ask for, man. I didn't even have to, that was like a no-brainer. All you had to do is put the jig on it. That is honestly pretty rare. I would say this is actually probably the best bite I've seen all year as far as just the mood of the fish. So far this year, especially on Mille Lacs, but in a lot of places you've really had to work for these fish. And really low percentage of them have been willing to bite this year, no matter what you're doing. But this might be the first day where, you know, the water temperatures are up, the fish are hungry, metabolisms are high, and they're ready to roll, so. We're still gonna try and sneak up on this fish a little bit. It really pushed down to the bottom already. It's a flat, calm day, but we still have the noise of waves hitting our boat. Okay, so 60, 55. This is the right caliber of fish if we can make a good cast. Let's be patient. One of the biggest things I think people need to work on is just being patient. Although that fish looks like it's almost swimming away from us now, so let's go ahead and head him off a little bit if we can. Not a great cast. Oops. Half a mind to throw a drop shot at this fish, even though it looks a little bit bigger. Seems like drop shots are great for me, for throwing in pods and getting eaters and whatnot, but this one's moving pretty quick. I'm gonna try and get a little bit closer to it. the kind of fish. Well, and then we got this one right here. That one towards the bottom though, it's moving so quick. It'd be a nice one to have a 1/4 ounce jig tied up, which a lot of times I do, but. And the boat traffic is going nuts today. Coming in every direction. Good thing they're not fishermen. They might be spot hawking. I should throw a drop shot at this fish, honestly. I don't know how I ended up short. I thought I casted it like 40 something feet. Okay, we're gonna throw a drop shot at it. We gotta get this net out of the way too. You really love being in on the action. Actually, let's throw a net at it since we got the net ready. Where'd he go? There he is. Drop that net on his head. Oh dude, look at this one. Eat it. Let's drop it down to the bottom. Oh yeah, he's gonna follow it down. And if we could have got a jig and crawler on that one, I think we'd have got a bite right away, just like that last fish. See if it'll bite a plastic though. He's following it. Look at that. You can see on the bottom. Come on, little buddy. Take a bite. I know you're still looking at it. Oh, I guess he's not looking at it. I'm gonna get my drop shot ready. I don't like to leave night crawlers just laying there too long if I know I'm not gonna be using them. But we'll get a night crawler on this hook and get it ready. Let's see here. Alright, so we're busting out the drop shot for the first time in this video. I've got, right now I've got 3 16th ounce weight on the drop shot. Got a number 2 hook. I'm threading a night crawler on there. Pinching a little bit of the tail off. So this is what I've got. This is one of my favorite presentations. Absolute fish slayer. Alright, let's zoom out. I bet that fish is just pretty much gone. That's the hard part. If you don't have something like this tied up and ready to go, if there's a fish you want to target with it, a lot of times they take off. A lot of times they take off before you can throw a crawler on. Okay, so there's one at 70. And if we should, now let's throw a drop shot at it, actually. It's pretty low in the water column. I think it's swimming away from us though. Slowly. That doesn't mean she won't bite though. Fish is sneaking into the stitching there. That's kind of where like the two transducers kind of stitch together to form the full transducer. Were we a little short there, or was that good? Oh, that's way short. Okay. like there's one, there might be one right underneath us. But that's plenty long. That should work. I'm gonna drop it down to the bottom. We're running it right past him. We'll see if he follows it down. Oh yeah, he followed it down. So I'm just gonna shake it just a little bit. You really don't need to do a lot with these drop shots. Ultimately, that crawler is gonna be moving in the water a decent amount, even if it's just standing still. Not because the crawler's alive, but just because it's such a, you know, thin profile that's just kind of undulating in the water. It's just sort of moving. But I like to shake it a little bit. Sometimes I feel like that can help get a bite. I don't think that fish is looking at it anymore. So I think he's right there. Yep. Okay. Should we make one more cast at him for the fun of it? Let's see here. Okay, so we haven't gone around and fished the other side of the hump yet. I'm gonna bump us out again. See if I can find something big floating around in the column. Okay. All right, so what do we got? We got 2 fish so far. I don't know how long we've been doing this. 38 minutes or 37 minutes since I turned this on. So not too bad for just hopping on a spot here, looking around. This is one of this lake is one of the lakes where we fish tournaments on sometimes. So I am kind of familiar with it. But we have a random draw tournament tomorrow. I have no idea where it's going to be, so I figured it'd be fun to go out to one of these lakes, and maybe it's going to end up on this lake. We'll see. But just go and do a little pre-scouting. Right now, I'd say, honestly, it's funny, we've got 2 little unders. I'd say based on what I've seen so far, this might be a decent spot to try and go get your overs, because we've seen, see like this guy right here at 105, we've seen a number of suspended fish, you know, where it's like, oh, these fish are higher in the water column, probably good ones. I haven't seen enough of what I would consider to be smaller fish, you know, like we got that one fish that was, you know, probably 19 something. I think we could drop shot this fish, honestly. We've seen we caught that one fish that was 19 something, but to say that that would be like a reliable spot for 19 inchers, I mean, I'd like to see more than that one, you know, when I go and catch one. I'd like to see like a pot of them. Oh, I'm a little short again. I'm just short like crazy today, guys. Short like crazy. The fish do seem like they're kind of swimming away though. The boat gets like 70, 80 feet away. They pick up on the fact that we exist, and then they start bombing away from us. A little bit off there. We're gonna keep moving on because honestly, that one does not look super huge anyway. Let's grab the jig. Pop that range out again. Is that the one we were just looking at? Where'd he go? And we could try that one just to see. Turn down that troll. Look at that. Look at it flying up at the bait. Oop, jeez. Gotta open your bail first sometimes, I've noticed. Where'd that fish go? We're just gonna cast towards that bait's pod. Drop it out of the bait pod. Where'd that fish go? That was kind of cool, wasn't it? I don't see where the heck that fish went, but it was hungry. They're obviously eating today. Either that or this is some sort of midday bite window. Oh, was that him right there? Ooh, that might have been him. Might be. Yeah, look at the way he's swimming upwards again. Okay, we're gonna try and catch that one. Oh yeah, look at he's tailing that bait again. Look at he's tailing me here. He's got it. Oh, shoot. Missed him. I could kind of feel him drop it. He was sort of popping at it, sort of. A little bit, which is weird. Let's get another crawler on. Missed a couple today. You do miss some fish when you do this. Unfortunately. It's just kind of the name of the game. But you get a lot of fish that you wouldn't have otherwise caught. I like to bait these fish over the side of the boat too. I don't know if you noticed that. Bait these worms, I should say. Or bait these hooks. Bait these hooks with worms. Because the bedding, it's not bedding, it's just dirt. And it makes a big old mess. And I can save most of that mess by just hooking up these worms off the side of the boat. I do wish more of these bait shops would use, or worm distributors or whatever it is, would use bedding instead of dirt. Make a lot less of a mess. Oh, let's pop the speed up, pop the range out, and let's look around a little bit off the edge here because we're just getting off to the tip of this point. So, or excuse me, yeah, this hump, there's a lot of bait fish sitting on this hump, I've noticed. What's that guy? He might be worth targeting. Making a little toss at. God, there are a lot of fish around here. We're almost done with this spot, I would say. But I would say as far as like what you're looking for, there's a good amount of fish on this one. This would be worth fishing for sure. Worth staying at too. Like if I didn't care about having fun trying new spots and I just wanted to poke some fish, maybe throw them in the live well, I probably wouldn't leave this spot, honestly. There's just enough fish swimming around, and they're pretty active, and it's not a given that if we find fish on another spot that they're gonna be this active. Is he kind of swimming towards us now? Looks like it. Yeah, this would, holy cow. Gotta reel up a lot. Drop it back down. Hopefully you just stopped there. Look at that fish coming off the bottom. What are they doing? Really active. And when they're moving around this much, it's hard to make really good casts on them. There we go, that should work. It's like back behind the boat, but ended up getting pretty close to that one, but doesn't look terribly interested in biting. All right, let's keep moving. Should almost tie up another bait with a 1/4 ounce jig on it. What do you think of that, Zelda? Every boat out there. Interesting. Who are those people? Do they want to pet me? Do they have treats? Alright, let's see. One last little sweep around here. See if there's anything big floating around. I actually think the first little area that we were looking at originally had the most bigs that I could see. Look right along the tip here. You know what, we're actually going to run back to that very first area we were in, because there were some big ones floating around, and I would hate to leave them there without giving one last little rip. Alright, so I just put the trolling motor up to 10 and we're going to zip over there. We can kind of look while we're on our way, but I'm mostly just going to get focused on getting back to the spot there instead of firing up the big motor, just zipping over with the trolling motor. So, but yeah, this has been an interesting season so far. So there's one right there. Gonna end up right up on the top of it, but might as well try over here. See, it's following the bait right now. Nope. Just turned off. Okay, keep on moving. Don't get distracted. It's been an interesting year. So I started the year off. I went to Green Bay right as that bite was turning from pre-spawn to post-spawn. Because we're just getting up off the spawn. That was kind of fun. The bite was not very easy. Honestly, it was pretty tough. And then I've watched a number of videos from different guys this year, and everyone was saying that it was kind of tough. So makes me feel better, because I was seeing a lot of fish and I was catching some of them, and they were all pretty big, but they were just difficult to get to bite. So it's one of those deals where it's fun to get out there, it's fun to catch some fish, even if the bite is a little bit tougher. But from there, I fished over in Wisconsin, fishing more inland lakes. I actually did that the week before the Minnesota opener. So that was a lot of fun. Just checking out a bunch of lakes I've never been to before. So that was sort of a neat experience, and exploring a new area, you know, kind of a cool deal. Actually, we did start our season, I actually did go to the Mississippi River. I had a couple times where I ran over there just for the fun of it. Is the scope still recording? Yes. Okay. Well, it is Memorial Day weekend. I guess we can expect a little bit of company with boat traffic. Now there's one zipping right there, about 200 feet ahead of us. What the heck was I talking about? Oh, yeah, I went to the Mississippi River for a little bit too. And that was one of those deals where you kind of, we're almost to the spot now, where you kind of are jumping between ice and open water, where I was putting the boat in the water one day and then literally the next day pulling the snowmobile to go ice fish somewhere. So this open water year has been a little bit of an adventure. Started out most of the opening week on Mille Lacs. That was not a very easy bite. Mille Lacs has been way tougher than normal. I would say like last year, spring on Mille Lacs, it was just absolutely nuts. It was just non-stop action. Catching fish on anything you wanted to catch them on pretty much. I mean, they're walleyes, it wasn't automatic, you know, but like, man, just getting lots of bites on plastics and, you know, in addition to minnows and stuff that of course we had. But all right, so this was the area I was seeing some more of those bigger fish. So we're just gonna look in this area real quick just to see if some of them are still floating around. It's kind of a weird spot because we are sort of off a structure here. Off of it a little bit. A lot of times, even with these suspended fish, I do find them a little bit closer to structure. They're not, you know, they are suspended off a structure, but they're not very far. Right now, we're actually a little bit of a ways off structure, but this was an area where there were quite a few of them. But I'm not seeing any at the moment. At least not in 175 feet in any direction from here. So I think we're gonna pick it up and we're gonna move to another spot. So I'm not sure if I'll probably fast forward the video while we're driving, just because, you know, that's a little bit of a process. And you guys don't need a 5-minute section of this video where I'm just running and I can't talk to you guys. So that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna fast forward it and we're gonna get to the next spot, and I'll tell you a little bit about the spot when we get there, kind of, and how we're looking at it and how we're gonna fish it. So all right, next spot. So this is a spot I've never fished before. So we're gonna see how it goes. And it's gonna be one of those deals where we got these two inside corners right here. So we're gonna just kind of check them out. A lot of times the fish will suck up into these inside corners. So we should have like weeds up on the top of here, I would assume. Yep. Looks like there's some bait fish out on the edge too. Jet skiers, which is always a bonus. But oop, there we go. There's one already. One's out at 100. Right in the direction of the jet skis is where that one's set up. Where'd he go? Bump that back out again. So we're just sneaking into the inside corner here. If you had the map to see, you'd see. Well, that one that I saw kind of disappeared on me there. So we're just gonna keep on moving. Also, one thing you guys can't see is that there are a lot of bugs up on the surface here. I don't know when this hatch happened exactly. If it was super recent, that might be part of the reason why the fish are kind of getting fired up and willing to eat and move so good, is because there's a lot of activity happening and they're thinking about putting on that early summer feed bag. But I'm not seeing much here yet. So this is actually, the reason why I stopped here is because this spot actually sets up. It's got two inside corners. So there's like, I don't know if this is gonna work, me explain it with my fingers here, but there's an inside corner here and it sets up into a little point, and then it's like this other inside corner. So I picked this spot because I thought it'd be easy to just check both of those corners quick and And sometimes fish will set up out on the end of points too. So like right now we're right on the tip of the point. Sometimes you'll see something suspended out, you know, in like off the edge here, like where I'm looking right now. Obviously nothing there at the moment, but you get the idea. And whenever I'm in search mode, unless I'm really trying to look into the weeds really hard, I do bump that range out quite a bit. But once I'm ready to cast, I always zoom it into something really consistent. Like I always have it at 100 feet because I love having it just be like the exact same distance no matter what, so that I can just look at the screen, see where the fish is on the screen, and know how far that fish is away. Busy lake today, obviously on Memorial Day weekend. Hope you guys had an awesome Memorial Day weekend. Hopefully you got out on the water. If you had to pull some kids on the tubes, I think that's awesome, but hopefully you got a few casts in, chasing some walleyes or bass or whatever you want to chase with the family. Looks like there's a little school of something up at the top there. Gonna work our way back into this corner. Might even check the backside too. We actually had a really low-key Memorial Day. So for whatever reason, we don't usually do anything really in particular on Memorial Day weekend. Sometimes I'll go hang out with my family, my parents. Sometimes they'll have some family members over. But we don't have any traditions or anything, I should say, I guess. Alright, so we're pretty much right in the middle of this corner here. Looks like we got some probably bait or bass or something floating around near the top of the column there. Bunch of bait right in this area over here, which is dead ahead of us. Not seeing like a lot of weeds. There's some shorter weeds here. Good dog. We'll see what these guys are up here. Yeah, but I got Zelda Pup in here with us. I'm gonna try and bring Zelda out on more of these fishing adventures because she really does love being on the boat. And I've got water and food set up in the back. Usually she's too just interested in what's going on to even eat or drink much. I gotta remind her to drink water. It's like having my kid out here. Gotta remind them to drink water. So there is a little bit of scattered grass kind of up on top of here, which can be really good. So we're gonna kind of slow down and just poke through here a little bit. It's like a nicer one over at 90. Definitely in shallower water though. The fish have been a little bit spooky today with how flat it's been. How flat calm. I can see the weeds growing up almost to the surface on this spot. Looks like that fish pushed down to the bottom right about there. Looked like. Or what's that guy right there? Looks small. No, there's a big school of them. If those aren't largemouth bass. We got one of them. Uh-oh. What do you think, Zelda? they are. All right, we got the first LMB of the day. You're bound to run into some of those when you're up looking around in the weeds. And they eat night crawlers, obviously. What do you think, Zelda? Oh yeah. Yep. Zelda loves to lick the tail. I don't know if I support that activity, but so there you go. Like I said, there's gonna be some largemouth swimming around here and there. It's just a matter of how it's gonna go when you're fishing up near the weeds. It's kind of interesting. Some of the lakes I was fishing in Wisconsin earlier this year, it seemed like most of the bass were on rocks this spring, and most of the walleyes kind of dominated the weeds on a lot of the lakes that I was fishing over there, which was sort of neat to see. What do you think, Zelda? What do you think? You should drink some water. Okay. Ready? Come here. Come here. Look at this. Drink your water. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. No, right here. Drink it. You just want to follow me around. Alright, so we kind of flipped over. It's a little bit of a saddle that we were on here. We kind of flipped over to the other side of it. And that kind of the other side that we were on looked more appealing on the map to me when I was looking at it, but I'm actually liking the way it sets up a little bit better over on this side. I'm seeing just some crappy little weed, but then I'm seeing, you know, bait fish and whatever swimming around, a few fish floating around. Like here's one right here. I would say this is probably not another largemouth bass. We're gonna take our time and sneak up on this fish with how calm it is. Yeah, that's target species right there, I'd say for sure. Watch me catch it and have to eat my words here in a second, but I would say we're looking at a walleye. It's a little bit to the right. Up here. Alright, where'd he go? There he is. That dog will hunt there. Where'd my jig go? There it is. I kind of slow that drop speed a little bit as I get closer to it. And I want to get close enough to engage that fish. I'm popping it in place a little bit. Got it a little bit engaged. He's not moving fast though. Oop. He just kicked into it a little bit. Hope he just grabbed it. He thumped it pretty good. There we go. Got another one, boys and girls. What do we got this time, Zelda? We got a walleye this time. We got a dog toy on the net, but I think we'll be all right. When I took Zelda out last year, she was like 3 or 4 months old and she chewed a hole through my net. So this year is a big improvement. This one had a little bit of fight. A bit of fight in there. About the same size as the last one, which is just a good old walleye. Oh. What do you think of that, Zelda? Put that net back in its spot. There we go. Another Walter. Maybe 18 something. Once again, looks like we get to reuse the crawler, which I'm a big fan of. But there we go. Nice bug hatch Walter. Beauty. Skinny. which is probably part of the reason why she was hungry. I got this crazy bug hatch. Actually, there's so many bugs right here. I'm gonna scoop up some of them and see if I can show you guys. I don't have my cell phone, so I can't put a cell phone clip in here. But if you guys can see that, I'm not sure. Yeah. I'm not a bug expert, but I can tell you that these are bugs. I can't identify them for you, but we're dealing with a big herd of bugs here, guys. So when it's buggy, night crawlers are a go-to. I like to use night crawlers a lot in general. If you guys have been following me for a while, you know that. But when the bug hatches are going on, which is pretty much all summer, but you know, early in the summer like this, when they really start to go, that's when that crawler bite really starts to heat up. All right, so we just got another one. I actually didn't think that one was gonna bite because it wasn't as aggressive. It was following, but it wasn't following too good. Get some bait fish here. But then when you see it, you can kind of see that tail kick, you know, sort of propel that fish. That's when you know it's definitely a lot more interested, so you kind of gotta get ready. But that one sort of thumped it. A lot of times with the jig and crawler setup, they'll just kind of grab onto the back of that tail and then they'll kind of choke up on it. But that one you could feel thumped it, and I probably could have set the hook right away, honestly, on that one. All's well that ended well. It's not like it, you know, ate it deep or anything, but probably could have set the hook right away with how, that's kind of a big thing that I would say too, is like, people ask like, how long do you let them eat? And it's like, well, kind of depends on how hard they hit it. I mean, if they just thump it, you can definitely set the hook right away. But if you just kind of feel it mush up a little bit, they almost definitely do not have hooks yet. That's like my general rule of thumb. But even if they hit it somewhat hard, I still give it to them for a couple seconds. It's kind of like how I like to approach it. So there's one on the bottom right there. Area or go look at something different. I could probably run this inside break here. We're gonna have weeds to our left and open water to our right. Probably run this spot, honestly, and run into more fish, I would think. So that right there, if you're trying to learn live scope, that right there, to me, I would say is likely a big pot of bluegill. Sometimes perch can kind of look like that too. Just sometimes knowing your lake helps you identify some of this. But to me, on this particular lake, probably bluegill. So this finally laying down. She's finally chilling. Usually she's got about an hour or two, and she's maybe an hour. She's got to check everything out. She's got to watch every boat that goes by. Alright, what is that? Is that a floating weed? Or that looks like a floating weed kind of, but let's get a little closer. No, that's a weed. Not even floating. It's connected to the ground. Probably pop that gain down, 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 down. A pot pot of bait a little bit lower, or a little bit deeper, I should say. Well, if we were going for a fish fry, we would already have a pretty good fish fry, honestly. Got those couple fish that are sort of more on that bigger side of the eaters, you know, the high teeners. And then that other one that's quite a bit smaller. Honestly, I would say those two better ones paired with that little one, that would be perfect. I probably would have kept that little one, honestly. I would say what you keep, it just sort of depends on some of the lakes you fish. I know some of you are going to be like, oh, I would never keep that little one. Like, you got to wait till you get the, you know, high teeners or whatever. Like, it just depends on where you fish. I'd say on a lake like this, a little one like that is going to be, you know, a nice little add-on to a couple more decenter size eaters. So, and honestly, on lakes like this, you know, a lot of people will go out for 6-7 hours. You know, this is a super clear body of water. There's a lot of fishing pressure. Obviously, there's a lot of recreational boating pressure. And a lot of people might struggle to catch 3, you know. So some people might catch a 19, 20 incher and keep that, and then catch another small one like that and call it good. Or, you know, they might run into something that maybe kind of looks, you know, like a little pot of fish, and pluck 3 or 4 of those smaller ones and call it dinner. It's all just relative of where you live. Looks like there's one right there. Right in between those weeds. We're just gonna jig this in place here for a second while we keep cruising down the break. I'm not seeing a lot down the break here. I'm mostly seeing or I feel like we saw most of the action sort of right on that saddle between that inside corner and then this other side of the break. Although there is plenty of bait fish. Usually people say find the bait, find the fish. I think that's true to some degree. But a lot of times you'll see a bunch of bait and there's no fish around it. So I would not say that that's a wives' tale that's gotten debunked by forward-facing sonar, but I would say it's not always true that when you find bait, you find fish. That's another thing too, it depends lake to lake. Like on a lot of the lakes that we fish around here, just because you have bait doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna have fish around. A lot of these fish are eating bugs and stuff too, you know. Not to say that this bait doesn't get eaten, but it just seems like the walleyes are kind of all over the place and it's not always dictated by bait. So, something to think about. Honestly too, I could run down this break with side imaging. The reason I'm not doing that at the moment is just I don't have a screen recording on my Humminbird, so I just have a Helix, so I can't necessarily show you what I'm looking at. Can't really show you what I'm looking at with that, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to scan down the edge here with side imaging and just see if I can cover a little bit more water a little bit more quickly. You're not necessarily going to find the big suspendos when you do that, but you can find good pods of walleyes with side imaging right on the edge of the weeds. A lot of people, you know, a lot of people seem to think that you know, you can't be. A lot of people seem to think that you can't find weed walleyes with side imaging, but you definitely can. So I think that's what we're gonna do next. Okay, so I actually just kind of idled us. I idled us along that break. I didn't see anything that was of interest, but I sort of saw we had kind of an interesting looking area up ahead of us. So I just decided to idle us a little bit further. I would call this spot kind of a complex, where there's sort of like a series, there's a couple humps, and then sort of some varying depth with different saddles and whatever. So kind of a type of area that I call it a complex. There's a lot going on, a lot of moving parts. It's actually interesting. There were some weeds up in like 7. Now we're in 9 and there's not any weeds. I can see with my eyes, there's tons of zebra mussels everywhere. We're just gonna slowly work our way onto this complex here. I'll try and describe what we're looking at as we go, but there is like kind of crappy little weed, like, well, I shouldn't say crappy, but not tall weed. It's like almost like sandgrass or something. It looks good. Sometimes you'll find little walleyes just hanging out in there too. So sometimes I'll toss in there and see if I can work anything out of there. Just dragging it through these areas sometimes can pay off. But let's see here. Before we get too wild and crazy, let's bump this range out and see if we can find anything floating around in the area. Besides just one random floating weed. Oh, looks like there is one right under us. Gotta get a little bit more speed. Let's move through this. Can't waste too much time not seeing anything. So there's kind of a little bit of a point coming off the structure to the left here, so we're gonna follow that out first. Tons and tons of bait set up here. That's another thing you'll find too. I just got done talking about how finding the bait doesn't always mean finding the fish, but a lot of times these inside corners will just absolutely load up with bait. So like, we're pretty much sitting right in an inside corner right now. Should I drop shot? I should drop shot that fish. Is my night crawler still decent? Not. It's getting a little dry. It should still work though. What the heck was I talking? Oh yeah, these complexes have so much interesting structure. So like this one has inside corners. It has saddles. It has a little flat kind of in the middle of it. Oh, he was not interested. He definitely knew it was there, honestly. I feel confident in saying that he knew it was there, but he was not interested. Yeah, this crawler's still in good enough shape. Sometimes too, I'll let my hook just kind of bounce in and out of the water. Keep that crawler moist. But sometimes I can come back to bite you in the bluegills. When you're up in the weeds and the bluegills are snapping. Good dog. Alright, so we're just gonna buckle down and cover a little bit of water here. What I really want to do before this video's up, how long have we been going? Just like maybe around an hour and a half. One thing I really want to do is I want to poke a big one, if I can. So I think I'm going to try and bias more towards finding a toad. Could get that one maybe. Doesn't look too big, honestly, but I should say too, probably won't be out super long today. I just want to have a little session, do a little uncut video, and get back in time to get some snacks ready for the T-Wolves game tonight. Maybe by the time you're watching this, the Timberwolves will have been eliminated. But hopefully, by the time you're watching this, they've either, well, it depends on how long until you watch this. If you watched it a week after I posted it, hopefully they'll be in the finals. But if you're watching it, you know, the day I posted, hopefully they're at least 2-2. Tied it back up with the Thunder. I got nothing but respect for the Thunder fan base. They got a die-hard crew over there, but I hope their team loses. And I don't know how many of you follow basketball, but I'm not a fan of their star player, Shea. SGA. But this is not a basketball video. This is a walleye video. Hopefully we get this walleye right here. Dropping a drop shot on his head. Looks like he's looking at it. He sees it. Yep, we got a rep here. He came down hard on it. We're just gonna kind of shake it in place a little bit, give it a little bit of action, not too much. Shake the bait, not the weight. It's my favorite motto. Looks like we're not gonna get that one, huh? Let's keep on looking. I gotta reach over my dog to get to the foot pedal here. Good rep though. You know, drop shots are super effective, honestly. The only downside to drop shots is just the fact that you can't always target every fish you want to target. So you gotta move, buddy. Excuse me. You can't always target all the fish you want to target. So obviously if the fish are somewhat close to bottom, it's really effective. You can catch suspended fish with them as well. It's the same fish, possibly. Where'd he go? There he is. 35. I gotta make a little bit better cast. I've been a little sloppy today. That's a good cast though. Picking up line. Shake it in place there. Come on, buddy. Take her down. He's following it still. He's right on it. I'm gonna slowly pendulum it down to the bottom, see if he'll eat it off the bottom. He's barely following it to the bottom, honestly. Let's try it for that one. That was a pretty good rep. It was following it pretty hard. Didn't really make any aggressive moves at it though. Okay, let's see. Right about there. I like to get just beyond the fish and then work it over the top of their head. Kind of slow the drop speed a little bit. There you go. There, now we just work it like this. He's following it. Following it down to the bottom. I will give him a second, right, Silva? That's the best strategy. Pet your dog for 5 seconds. See if the fish will eat it off the bottom. And if they don't, move on. All right, we're going. Or you could look for other fish while you're waiting, but sometimes the pup needs attention too. But yeah, I'm getting excited. So looks like we're gonna have 60-ish degree water temperature pretty much everywhere. 60 something at least, probably mid 60s in some of these lakes. It's a fairly deep lake, so I'm sure it's not the warmest in the area. So we're probably gonna be pushing 70-ish degree water temperature this week, and these fish are starting to get a little bit aggressive sometimes here. They're also starting to suspend a little bit off of cover. So they're getting out of the weeds, they're getting off of the flats, and they're starting to set up in their summer areas, which is a very predictable pattern, which is fun. Means you can go to a lot of lakes you've never fished before and find them in kind of predictable areas, sort of off a structure and stuff like that. All right, let's bump this out. This complex is actually fishing a little bit bigger than I thought. It doesn't look giant on the map, but we've only covered, I mean, we've barely covered it. How much have we covered of it? Like, yeah, I'm probably 20-30% of the way done fishing it so far. Oh, what's that? 2 of them? I wish I had like a quick adjust button that like jumped between 2 different settings. So I can have my search and destroy settings out at a distance, and then have my casting settings. So when I'm going to cast at the fish, I can have it at 100 feet right away, just one click of the button. It's a little bit short, but that should be close enough. No? No, he's swimming the other direction now. Let's see. The wind just started to pick up. Let's see if that helps us get a couple bites. Sometimes just like teeny little micro changes in the weather can make a huge difference with walleye. Okay, that's a perfect cast. We're gonna work this just over the top of the fish. Get him to turn around and follow it. Come here, buddy. Come on now. Got his buddy over here too, which might be a good opportunity. Man, they are slow. Slow, slow, slow. Too slow. Let's keep moving. Don't spend too much time on fish that aren't moving really good. Got some waves from the wake boats. Not too bad today. Where was that suspendo? Right there. Let's see if that's a fish. That one right here is definitely not fish. Let's see if that one right there. Keep moving. I thought I saw something over here too. While I was keying in on that other fish. There's one right down there by the bottom. Doesn't look like a big one. Should we drop a drop shot on it? Is it the same one? Just pop. Just float it up a little higher. Yeah, it's going to be a jig and a crawler one. It's already drop shot. Not yet. Swimming under the boat. We're actually not even moving. That's just where he's going. Where'd he go? Down to the bottom somewhere? Alright, next. Next, Zelda. You got just a teeny, ooh, look at those guys. Okay, forget that other fish I was looking at. Sometimes you'll find a couple big ones paired up like that. You gotta go and take a look at those. It's still pretty flat out, but there's just a little bit of chop now, which is, I do like. We're just gonna slowly float towards these fish. Those are the kinds of marks that you get excited about, so I'm sort of gonna give it my absolute best rep. 50 should be decent. We're just gonna be working it right over the top of these guys. Come on, guys, right here. Didn't even get half of a reaction. Always got to make a second cast when the marks look good like that, just to see if you need a slightly different casting angle. Casting angles are super huge. Something people don't talk about as much. They used to talk about more back in the day. Are they both diving now? Yeah, they're like, get the heck away from me. Right? Where's this one gonna go? No? No? Yeah, they're not doing it. They're not gonna do it. I would say those are probably almost certainly walleyes. But when they're that not willing to move, I gave up quick on that. It's kind of a cool breeze coming in, actually. A little bit, some darker clouds coming over from that direction. Once again, I got to apologize that I don't have the map on here too. A lot of these uncut videos I'll have the map so you can kind of see the structure I'm going over. But not today with no cell phone, because my cell phone is on the fritz. I gotta get a new cell phone probably, unfortunately. I'm hoping maybe I can get away with just getting a new battery or something, but it keeps restarting. It just turns off and then on and then off and then on, over and over and over again. You guys might even hear some wind noise now. Yeah, look at this wind coming in. This right here is actually my favorite condition to fish. A nice stiff breeze, breaks up the surface just a little bit, but not so big that, you know, you got big waves that are slapping the side of your boat. And there's a ton of bait fish setting up right here. We're kind of on a deeper water saddle right now, so we're sort of up in like 25-ish or so, or 26, but then it dumps off to like 50 on either side. So obviously the bait fish is suspending good on it, and if the walleyes aren't suspending here now, they're not using it. They definitely will be using it at some point. There's one down on the bottom up here, just past the bait. I think we can drop shot that fish. Should be a good cast with the drop shot. I don't feel like I need to go over it too often with the drop shot. Just need to get near it and then let that fish chase it down to bottom, so I don't have to work that bait over the top of the fish. don't have to be nearly as accurate with the drop shot, just for making good casts. The jig is sort of like it's like a process kind of. It's like sort of finesse. It's almost like a quarterback throwing a football, you know, where you have to throw it kind of in that perfect spot based on where your player is, where the defender is, all that. With the drop shot, you kind of just drop it in the general area. It's like doing, like when you're playing 500. 500, you toss it up in the middle and let it plop in there, and they kind of run in any direction to go grab the bait. But it's a long explanation for me to not have a walleye at the end of the cast here. At the end of the other line. Alright. Alright, Silva. So for the jig, that looks like a little pot of walleyes, I think. Yep. For the jig, I've got an 1/8 ounce stand-up tungsten jig that Northland makes. I'm a really big fan of this jig for crawlers. That's got some real walleye vibes to me. Fishing this spot, we kind of have to reset up a little bit on the downwind side and then work our way up into that wind. The crawler's seen better days. Alright, let's see. Right about there. That dog might hunt. We'll see. I got a 3/16 ounce weight on the drop shot. Is that better one following it down or no? Either way, there were some fish in the area. Try to just hold the boat in place and just kind of work that drop shot right where I dropped it. Dragging the weight, dragging the bait, not the weight. I wonder if I should switch up to a mic. Unfortunately, I can't hear the audio, how it sounds, but I almost think I should switch, throw a microphone on here. There's definitely a few fish scattered around on here. Should be able to make a few casts in here and maybe get one. Right about there. Money cast. Looks like they're looking at it. Guys are mostly behind us, and I don't know, we might have this wind for a little bit, so I'm gonna grab a microphone and plug it in quick. Is the scope still recording? I always gotta check that. I got a new scope recorder, so I always gotta check to make sure it's reliable, but we're gonna mic up is what we're gonna do real quick, just so I can make sure we got some good audio. I'm sure the audio is not good anymore, so we'll see when I go back and look at the footage, but for now, we're just gonna rig up. All right. first. Let's get this on the shirt. We may still even have some wind noise. We may still even have some wind noise with the mic, honestly. All right, get this right there. Levels testing. All right, we've got audio. 2 hours in, we're switching to a mic. Okay, we gotta get back at it, Zelda. There's walleyes around. There's walleyes around, but sometimes you gotta make sure you got video production quality. That's an important item too. Got one right there. I'd like to poke one more good one before we call this video quits here. We really haven't covered that much ground. It's been like around 2 hours, a little less than 2 hours. We haven't fished like a lot of spots, but we'll see. We'll keep running it for now and we'll see. Nice thing about drop shots too is they're nice and easy to cast into the wind. Is that one following it? Yep, we got one of them came over and looked at it. Just waiting for that drop shot to mush up. Couple more of them over here. Straighten this worm out a little bit. There, that'll be better. A lot of times with live bait fishing, finesse fishing, it really comes down to the details. And just having your bait on there super straight can be really big. And yeah, just having a really natural presentation, making casts that are super pinpoint can make a big difference as well. I was hoping I'd say that and then make an absolute terrible cast and be like, not like that, but that was a pretty good cast. That's in the zone. So there are definitely fish swimming around on this thing. We should finish up this spot though. Get it all wrapped up. I'm spending some time on some of these smaller fish closer to the bottom here, but I really would like to go hunt a big one. Sometimes you'll find big ones close to the bottom too, of course. But the easiest way to target the big ones is suspended. How can I not throw into that little 2-pack though? You almost gotta. I don't think that one's looking at it though, so we got to keep rolling along here. Bump that range out a little bit. It is a lot easier to move around though once you've got a little bit of wind. You don't have to be nearly as stealthy. All right, so what we're looking for now, we're changing gears a little bit. We're looking specifically for a big mama floating in the water column. So I see like that, slow down and look to see what that is. Nope, we're not gonna do that. We're gonna keep going. These, nah, we could throw at those, but no, we're gonna keep going. So we're gonna run some ground here until we find them. So as you can see the scope, I can't really see in the second half. It's because we're just getting over the top of this hump, and there's weeds up on top of this hump. What's that guy? That guy might be worth looking at. Let's see here. That does not look like a tiny fish. I'm gonna drop this drop shot out of the way. Oh shoot, I don't have a crawler on my jig at the moment. All right, watch out, Zelda. Watch out, you're good. Let's get a crawler on here quick. Take a look at that fish. Thread her on there nice and straight. Put it over the keeper. That's why I really like this stand-up tungsten. It's just got such an amazing keeper. It's got a good hook too. It's actually slightly beefy. It's not like a super fine wire hook. It's got a little beef to it. Is that the fish we were looking at right there? I think it is. Let's give him a rip. It does not look too big, but it's an interesting mark. We're gonna recast that. I pulled it a little bit to the left. Ooh, what's that thing? Maybe a little pot of bait. Well, that's right on its head, as long as it doesn't move. It's following it. Doesn't look tiny, it's got it. There we go. All right, Zelda, I think we might have the best one of the day. I'm not saying it's a giant, but I think it's the best one so far. It's got a good attitude, that's for sure. Let's see here. Taking me around to the right. Don't need to go for that net quite yet. What do we got here? That's a pretty good one. Looks like a small over. In Minnesota, the harvest, like just in general, the statewide harvest is 1 over 20, and then the rest of your limit has to be under 20. Excuse me, 1 over 20, and the rest of your limit has to be under. And this one I would say is a small over. Not that we're harvesting today, but that's just what this fish is. We fish it like when we're fishing a lot of tournaments and whatever. Overs and unders are kind of a thing. But yeah, that one right there is like just a decent hook, came right out. Just a decent over. Nice little over. Give you the horizontal hold. Beauty. Just for the fun of it, we're gonna measure just to see how long, just so I can tell you guys an exact number. Put her on the bump board. It's bigger than I thought, actually. It's 24. Oop. Easy. 24. So, beautiful 24-incher. Get her back in the drink. There she goes. All right, decent one. I would say And that's like almost in the category of a big one, right? I'm not promising, I definitely can't promise you guys like a 20, 28 incher or anything. Obviously we can try, but I mean, that qualifies as a better fish for sure. So I feel better knowing that we got one of those. As you guys saw too, that one did not mark super huge. But you could tell right away that it wasn't tiny per se. So anyway, there we go. Solid Walter for you guys. I think because it was so skinny, to me it didn't look quite as big as I thought it was. So I'm glad I measured it. Ooh, there's another one on the bottom there, 2 of them. What was this guy right out here? Let's see what he is. Doesn't look like a big giant blimp mark, which I like to see, but it looks decent. Worth casting at. He doesn't look terrible, but he looks, yeah, he looks like we better try and catch him. Let's get him to about 45, 40 or so. Oop. Well, I should have put on a new nightcrawler. It was looking a little mangled, but it was still holding on the keeper there, but the middle of it was starting to get torn up. So I wanted to give it a try. Turns out I should have put a fresh crawler on there. So you can see with this keeper, man, you gotta like pry the crawler off that jig sometimes. I think this is the last one in here. Yep. Oh wait, no, there's another one in there. All right, put that crawler on there. Hope that fish is still sitting there waiting for us. If not, we can find another one, but boom. All right. Pinch a little bit of the tail. I would say for night crawlers, like my favorite night crawlers are big juicy ones. Some of these crawlers are not that juicy. They're not that big, but they don't have to be big all the time. But I do feel like sometimes, especially with bigger fish love those big, fat, juicy crawlers threaded onto a jig. Is that gonna be far enough? Just a little short. I have half a mind to start reeling it up right now, but we'll see if the fish sees it. Oh no, the fish sees it. I'm gonna reel down and slow down that drop speed a little bit. Dude, the fish are aggressive today. Where'd he go? There he is. He's to the right a little bit. See, when they flare up like that, you can tell they've turned around. So I drop it a little bit. I probably could let this, oh, he grabbed it. I slowed it down a little bit and he grabbed it. There you go. That one hit it pretty hard too. I slowed it down and then turned it to start moving it back up and it just thunked it. This is another one where I feel like it's just a solid over. Not a giant. It's kind of keeping its head down though, honestly. Let that drag do its work. I've been playing with the Carbon X2 reels this year. I got a pile of them and I've been using them and they are legit, honestly. The drags are really solid. I used them all winter and I've been happy with them. For the price point, they are crazy good. But Let's focus on getting this walleye in now. There we go. All right, another one bites the dust. Let's grab him. There we go. Just another solid one there. That one's kind of in that same realm, like maybe 23 inches or so. It's the perfect length for Zelda, right? To lick the tail. Show that beauty off. There we go, all finned out. Beautiful, Walter. All right, let's get her back. All right, Zelda, you ready? What do you think? Off good. I always like to keep, another little tip too, I always like to keep the net right there, ready to go. Oh, you can see the fish swimming down right now on the scope. Swimming back down to bottom. Good to go. That fish wasn't too deep. If I remember, it was like maybe 22 feet or so. But anyway, so how far are we into this video here? About 2 hours. Getting into a little mess of them now, which is fun. 3 o'clock. Maybe an hour to get home. Hour and a half after loading the boat. Maybe stopping for gas. 4:30. Yeah, we got a little bit of time here. I just don't want to miss the Timberwolves game. I got to be ready. I got to get some food ready to eat during the game. Maybe some nachos. I got to figure out a lucky food for the game. Last game they won by like 40 something, so I got to remember what I ate that day. I don't think I ate anything. That's not as fun. All right, so a couple of them swimming around here. So this is actually, we're just getting to the end of the spot I was telling you guys about, the complex, and there's like this really thin trough. As you can see, like we're coming into it right now, and it gets down pretty deep. It gets down to like 30 something. There's one. That's not the same fish. It's definitely not the same fish. That last fish was a little over there. So we could drop in here and just see what we can do on this fish. Although we're pretty much right on top of them now. When they're really aggressive in this clear water, they can see it from a long ways away. That one kind of dropped down to bottom though. There's another one out at like 50. Coming up on that one quick, because he's swimming right at the boat. Ooh, here we go. Stopped him in his tracks. Just kind of, sometimes I'll just pop it like a plastic, try and get their attention. All right, let's keep moving here. There's definitely a little population of like mid to low 20 inchers sitting in this little I guess trough you'd call it. There's like, it's like this little lane where it's like 30-ish feet on the bottom. Sometimes a little shallower, but it's between like this big flat over here and then this hump, which is on the edge of the complex over here. What about that guy right down there in the bottom? Couldn't get him to engage. Probably too close to him at that point. How do you guys like all that? All right, let's see, where are we at? Oh, we're wrapping around the side of the point now. A lot of times I'll actually use my forward facing to tell me where to go. I'll just kind of follow the stuff that looks good, and then I'll look down at the map and I'll be like, oh wow, that's not where I was planning to go on this spot. But a lot of times just looking at what looks good is going to be way better than picking a spot on the map and assuming that that's going to be good. So I try and do that more often than anything. But sometimes too, you gotta, well, most of the time trust your eyes, but sometimes don't trust your eyes and go to some of those spots, because you hate to go to a spot and just be following your eyes and then not get to that one interesting little part of it that you wanted to check out, whether it's an inside corner or whatever it is. Oop, here we go. What's that? Maybe some eaters. Oh, short. Close the bail, tighten up the line a little bit, and work it over the top here. Wasn't 100% on him, but I was pretty darn close. And he didn't move. Should we make one more little rip at him? Where are we at? Right there. Not getting much reaction. Should we see? Let's see what else we can do here. Tons of bait. Tons of. A few fish on the bottom over there. Let's see, do I still got a crawler on the drop shot? I do. I do have a crawler on the drop shot. I got a little bit of crap on the nose though. There. Nice clean presentation. Let's put that drop shot right on that little pod. I think they're skirting a little bit out. So I think I mentioned this already, but I got a 3/16 ounce weight. Oopsie, casted the crawler off. 3/16 ounce weight. See, that's the dangerous thing. It's nice to get as much utility as you can out of one crawler, but eventually as you're jigging that bait, that crawler just gets weaker and weaker, kind of right at the base of the hook, because it keeps on wiggling, and that's kind of like a pivot point. It's like when you bend something in you bend metal in one spot enough times, eventually it pops off. But it's a pain in the butt to have to put another crawler on there, so it's nice when you can get away with using another crawler over and over and over again, especially if you can catch multiple fish on one crawler. But every once in a while, you go to make a cast, and if you're making a hard cast, you just go and you just lose the back half of your crawler, which makes it worthless. So sometimes it's nice to switch out crawlers even when you still got it on there, because you're gonna see a giant fish and you're gonna get ready to make a good cast at it, and then the crawler falls off and then the fish swims away. All right, so we got one right, or two of them right there. Those might be the same ones we're going after. It doesn't look tiny for being a fish down at the bottom like that. I think we're short. Yeah, come on, Nick. Try to finesse it a little bit and just keep on ending up short. Not short. Teeny bit off to the side, but I think they should see it, honestly. I guess not. That's right on the money. But just because it's right on the money doesn't mean they have to care. Right, Zelda? All right, we're gonna keep moving along here. Actually, I think we're gonna try a different spot. Not because this spot sucks, but because I want to try something different. Kind of already proved that this spot is decent. Got some good ones off of it. Let's get rid of this dirt. Throw it in the garbage here. All right. All right. Cue the fast forward. We're going to hop over to a different spot. All right, got a little bit of a main lake spot here. So we're gonna see. We're gonna see if there's any floating around here. This is like a classic lead core spot. Lead core spot turned scoping spot. If it's a good class, that's another good tip. If you ask someone who's been fishing out on your favorite lake for decades, if you ask them where is the best spot where guys catch them trolling lead core in the summer, that's going to be an area where there's going to be fish floating around up in the water column. So those kinds of spots are money for looking for big fish. But we're going to bump this range out quite a bit, turn up the trolling motor a little bit, and we are gonna rip through here. There's a little hump we're gonna go over the top of. The scope does not do justice to what we're actually going on here. My scope's been getting a little tippy lately, so I gotta play with some settings, I think, but for now, I can fish with it, I guess. But eventually I'm gonna have to tighten that up a little bit. So we're right on top of the hump right now. It's like 20 feet. But the hump isn't necessarily the main feature of this spot. The main feature is the fact that this is deep water that's somewhat tight. It's sort of a pinch point to some degree. You're gonna have some weeds on one side. Actually, you're gonna have weeds on either side. There's a little bit more of a tapering flat to our left, out this way, or to my left. I don't know if that's confusing for you guys watching, but yeah, we're just gonna run with the trolling motor on high and just look around a little bit. This is one of those spots you run pretty quick. Looks like there is one right there. I mean, not exactly what I'm looking for when I'm on a spot like this. Usually I'm looking for fish that are a little bit higher, like halfway up. Halfway up is kind of what I'm looking for. Oh, like something like that. And even higher than that, usually, honestly, but sometimes you just gotta take what you can get. All right, let's see if we can target this guy. Does not look like a giant. I wanna run us into one of these big, like a 30-incher or something. A big 28 plus. But for now, I'm just gonna settle for hitting a couple. This is also a spot. A 3/16 ounce jig might be kind of nice. But I think we are gonna drop it right on him. Looks like actually he's really swimming. Let's see if I can catch up to him. Gets hard when you get kind of vertical. Oh, there we go. He's gonna take it, I just know it. He's gonna take it almost all the way up to the boat. We're gonna drop it down, let him chase it down a little bit. See if he'll catch it. Twist it, turn it back up. God, this thing is sort of weird. Drop it back down. Fish is basically under the boat now. Sorry for the silence. Just concentrating. I might give up on this guy. He's a little chasey, but he's just weird. I should almost try and go for that guy. His buddy over there. See if I can get him to go. Sometimes color can matter too. I got the blue and white on. Thing is, the blue and white's been pretty good today so far, so if it's working, if it has worked so far, I usually don't like to change it. Even though the weather is a little different now, it's a little darker. Is the scope still running? All right, I would hate, I'd hate to be giving you the play-by-play on something you guys can't see. Oh, shoot, what the heck? Lost the crawler again. There we go. Bust out a fresh container of crawlers. Should we throw in a leech? Let's do a leech just for the fun of it. Jig and leech them. Got some really good leeches in here, man. These are high quality suckers. We're actually just gonna take the same jig I've got on right here. Usually with leeches, I like to go with a short shank jig, but I found it doesn't always matter. So I'm gonna hook it right back behind the sucker. Hook it up like that. Ready to go. Now let's throw out some marks with a leech. I don't know that it's gonna be better, but it's a different look just for the fun of it. Lost my balance a little bit there. All right, that should be a decent drop, I think. Looks like that fish is swimming around a little bit. It's weird, fish swim, I've noticed. Yeah, that's maybe a spot where it would have been nice to have a little bit of a heavier jig. Kind of swam out of the zone, but let's just keep moving here. Like I said before, I'm kind of looking for something a little bit different than that anyway. I want to find something a little higher in the column. So we're just gonna move fast and see if we can find something. Kind of, oh. Jordan's calling. My cell phone's broken, so I got my kid's watch. Hello?
Okay, bye.
Love you, bye.
Love you, bye.
Call, okay. Call ended. All right, done with my phone call. Let's get back to walleye hunting. Let's see where we're at here. We're kind of running through the abyss a little bit. I'm gonna sneak a little bit closer to shore in this spot, this area. I'm sort of stayed in the middle of this lane. But sometimes you find more fish a little closer to structure. So we're gonna move a little bit closer. So, but yeah, once again, here's a closer look. I got the jig and the leech. These are nice leeches, man. They're nice and long. Just need to find a good mark to put it in front of. I mean, this spot might be a bust, you know? I'm just trying it. It doesn't look like really juicy. If I had crankbaits and lead core and I wanted to make a big long run, there's just like a lot of ground that looks really good, or, you know, a lot of ground that looks really solid, you know, where it's like any one spot might not be incredible, but if you take the spot in its entirety, it's a nice long trolling run where, you know, you would figure to run into some suspended fish. It almost kind of reminds me of like Mille Lacs when you're trolling along the edge of the mud flats, the big long mud flats. It's almost like that. So if you've been to Mille Lacs, you can just imagine that we're kind of running along the side of some mud. But as you can see too, it climbs up a little shallower here. This spot might be good. I could definitely see some fish stacking up onto these flats here. Seems like the boat traffic has died down a little bit. Maybe people are finally putting her on the trailer or on the dock. Heading back to the Twin Cities to wrap up the long weekend. So we got one right there. Worth looking at. Slow down my speed a little bit here. Wait till he's about 45. That's kind of my sweet spot for my favorite distance to cast. He didn't like the jig. We'll make one more flip in there just to see. We'll eat it off the bottom. I don't think he's even... Yeah, with the leech, I might be able to get him to eat it off the bottom a little better. We'll see. One last flip. Yeah, he's not hungry. He's kind of like, what the crap is that? Keep that away from me. I don't want it. So let's see, we can bump this guy out a little bit. Keep looking. Got helicopters flying over the top now. It's better than when we were on the Rainy River this spring. In Canada, had their big military helicopters flying over the river, patrolling the border. Playing the intimidation game. All right, I think we're gonna get out of here and move on to the next spot. I've bored you guys enough with this one. It's kind of a lame spot without any fish, except for the one fish that has no interest in even entertaining the idea of looking at a lure. All right, next spot. I've got an interesting little one I was looking at earlier. It's like a, so there's a flat, kind of a big flat, and there's kind of like this long hole sort of in the middle of the flat. So we're gonna go check that out next. Cue the fast forward. All right, here we are. I just kind of idled over to this spot. It was actually pretty close. Oops. So let's take a look. Take a look-see. First of all, let's spin a little circle. Looks like there's a couple of them. A few of them we just ran over there. But let's leave those in the past. I love these, kind of like these holes, these like, yeah, I don't know, like little holes inside of flats. Can definitely find some eaters and stuff in there, but a lot of times you'll see you can find big ones just kind of suspended up around in here, which is kind of our mission here today. See if we can find something big. Well, I shouldn't say our mission today. That's our mission at the moment, is to look for something big. There's something floating right there. Kind of hard to mark. Not marking giant, but definitely a walleye, I would say. I shouldn't say definitely a walleye, probably a walleye. Good dog, Zelda. Oh yeah, good pup. Is Zelda in frame? Okay. You guys are gonna think, what the heck is he talking about? If you haven't even been able to see Zelda the whole time. All right, let's see here. All right, so we're kind of taking our time, getting up to this fish right here. It's not marking very big, but you'd never know. See, now it's marking a little bit bigger. It's probably seeing its side a little bit more now. Okay, there we go. Another cast. Really hard to see for some reason. Right there should be pretty dang good. Come on. Still got that jig and a leech on. Having a hard time getting him to move off the spot. That one's probably the best cast so far. And he thought it was stupid. Okay, let's keep moving here. Also not the best mark either, so don't have to waste too much time on it. When they're really big, I'm definitely willing to spend a little bit more time, make a couple more casts. Even switch up baits, like if it was a giant mark, I definitely would have considered switching over to a night crawler. Spot locking, taking a second, putting a night crawler on and making a couple more good casts. There's definitely some bait loaded up in this little spot here. Let's bump back out to 175. Get a little extra distance. Cruise along. It's like the water temps are actually a little bit cooler over on this side. Sort of on a little bit of the other side of the lake here, just as we've kind of meandered from the start of the day, kind of working around to right here. So it looks like we got 62.5 degrees. I think it was 64.5 earlier, if I remember right. So, it's one of those deals. Things are always changing. So if you have watched, we're probably pretty far in the video after we fast forward through some of the driving stuff. This is 2-something hours, 2.5, something like that. If you are still watching this video, I want you to go down in the comments section and I want you to, let's see. Let's do favorite pizza topping. What's your favorite pizza topping? Are you a meat person? Do you like anchovies? That'd be crazy if you liked anchovies, but do you like anchovies? Are you Hawaiian? Is mushrooms your jam? What is your go-to pizza topping? Or style of pizza or whatever. Whatever you want to call it. Man, I think I went out for pizza a couple of years ago and one of my buddies ordered a peanut butter pizza, I think, where instead of red sauce, it had peanut butter sauce. What are you doing, Zelda? So let me know in the comments. I'm not trying to get a bunch of comments for engagement or whatever, but I just want to know, who of you is actually still watching, because that's how I know who the die-hard watchers are. If you've made it this far, you're die-hard. I think like a video like this, the average view duration is probably going to be like 25 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, somewhere in that range. So obviously you're gonna have some people that watch all the way to the end. You're gonna have some people that watch for 3 minutes and then, you know, ADHD jump to the next video. But if you're watching this far, you're diehard. So comment down below so I can know who the diehards are. Zelda's a diehard. She's been along for the whole ride. All right, we got one right there, it looks like. We'll give this one a leech. See how it does. That actually might be a decent fish. We'll see. Or hopefully we'll see. It's not reading very good, but I think it's swimming in this direction, I think. Gosh, I think I bumped my transducer a little bit. I've been just off on a lot of casts. It's not always easy, you know, to make good accurate casts, but I just feel like I've consistently been a little bit to the side. That is one thing I'd recommend, like if you're having a hard time, being accurate, or you're just having weird, you know, readouts on your live scope, a lot of it is going to be just changing out your, just messing with your transducer angle. Am I off on that one again? I better look at my transducer. It might have gotten bumped. That should work. Like I said, I like to get a little bit beyond the fish and kind of work it back over. I also like to slow down the drop speed a little bit once you get a little closer to the fish. Dang, that fish didn't even move. Let's make another cast at it. See if we can get its attention this time. Follow it down. Come on. There's no way you didn't see it that time. It's just not interested. Tough to say if it's the leech, you know, or if it's what the heck it is. But I'm gonna do a little test cast here. I'm gonna cast super straight, drop the transducer on it, right about there. Yeah, it looks like it is a little teeny bit off. Let's see, one more test cast. Cast it out straight. Point the transducer right at it, or the head of the trolling motor. Yeah, it's not too bad, actually. I don't have any excuses. Turns out I was just sucking there for a second. Is that same fish we were just throwing at? I guess you guys can't reply and tell me, but there's a fish floating there, so I'm gonna go cast at it. It might be the same one. A little short, maybe? Yeah. It does seem like the jig and leech has a little bit more, I don't know what you call it, where it's not as aerodynamic as a jig and crawler. That's a pretty good cast. Should see it. If that's the same fish, I mean, it's not gonna follow. Yeah, that's probably the same fish. Okay, keep on running. We're about halfway through this little hole here. The hole's kind of shaped like a finger, sort of. So we're just kind of gonna work our way down the pipe here. I did talk about this a little bit already, but when I'm just trying to cover open water, I really do like to bump that range out a lot. if I'm trying to cover weeds, like if I'm trying to methodically comb weeds, I'll have it down at like 100 feet. What do we got here? That's a fish, probably a walleye. We've only got one Larry so far. So we've been on mostly walleye. We've done a good job of avoiding the largemouth. Wait for that guy to get a little bit closer. Oop, just cleaning my screen too aggressively. This is one I think we want, honestly. It's kind of skirting around the side there. Where's he at? Now we got him a little more squared up. Should be on the money. Well, you can't say I don't have a nice slow natural drop speed, that's for sure. Man, just like the other one. Just kind of floating there. This is a good example though. Where is he? Where's my line? Oh, you could see it earlier. You can see the bow and the line. A lot of people think your line is just like a straight line to the jig, but it's really not. It's so much more like a rainbow, or like a, not rainbow, but like an infinity sign, or approaching infinity if you're a math nerd, I guess. I suppose most people aren't gonna understand that reference. But yeah, where it's like a graph, mathematical graph, where it's sort of curved. That's how your bait usually goes. That's why when you jig the bait, you can mostly keep it, you know, from like moving super fast towards the boat. You can kind of float it in place kind of good, because the line ends up pretty vertical by the time it gets to where your jig is. Stuff it, nerd. We're gonna keep cruising through here. There's some weeds. Some of this could have fish for sure. So I guess the rundown, I'm trying to think, I think we've caught all our fish on jigs so far. We threw the drop shot around a little bit. We threw a Ned rig around a little bit to no avail. Is that just a big clonk of weed? Yeah. Sneaking up a little bit shallower. This side of the hole is a little shallower. Well, it should get down to like 20. Yeah, which we're almost at 20. Little floater up here. Might as well try them. Oop. Gotta open the bail before you cast. Kind of an important part of the recipe. They're really not that interested in the leech, it seems like. It seems like they're not moving on the leech. As beautiful and juicy as this leech is, we're getting rid of them. We're gonna switch it out for a crawler. Old reliable crawler time. All right, let's get this guy in here. Thread him up. It's kind of fun to fish leeches for a second there. Just nice thing about the leeches is they only take a second to put on the hook. You just nose hook them quick. With these crawlers, you got to be a little more finesse with how you get them on here. They're a little harder to hook up, and then you got to hook them really straight. That's what, if I could give people a little tip, would be make sure you're hooking the crawlers really straight, because you want as straight and natural of a presentation as possible. Oops, we got a couple of them just out at the end there. Little guys maybe. Yeah, a couple. Yeah. So also, while I got you guys here, so we're pretty late in the video, right? What other types of content would you like to see from me this summer? Obviously, we're gonna run around, catch a lot of walleyes, try and catch some big ones. Maybe do some fish fry stuff. But like the thing about ice fishing is there's so much variety in the conditions, and you can set up fish houses, you can run and gun, you can camp on the ice, you can do tip ups, you can do all these different things. Open water fishing, there's a little bit less variety in that you're always in a boat for the most part, or at least I am, and you're chasing these fish that are kind of doing, oop, that fish did not like that. I guess what I'm getting at is what interesting stuff would you guys like to see? Would you like to see more like lake specific stuff? Is there other people you'd like to see? Is there anywhere you'd like me to go in particular? Do you want to see more competition style stuff? I know we're getting kind of late in the video, so I know I'm not going to have my whole audience, but hopefully I'm going to have, a good group of the more diehard people who watch this content. So your guys' opinion matters the most. So let me know in the comments what your guys' opinions is, because I very, very much would like to hear from you. Oh, where did those guys come from? You guys looking to the left a little bit too much, and then they showed up in the right. That is a drop shotty little pot if I've ever seen one. But here we are with jigs. Skull, those could be bass, honestly. Be a weird spot to find a little pot of bass, but they definitely could be. What the heck was I gonna do? Oh, grab some caffeine. You can tell when I'm not as talkative, it's because the caffeine is wearing off. That's when you get mellow yellow, Nick. Here they are over there. I mean, I know I'm not targeting big fish here, that's a guarantee. But I was thinking maybe pop another fish. Let's throw a Ned rig in there. Let's see if we can net them up. Oops. Actually, we got the drop shot. Is that? It's getting a little, that crawler's getting a little stiff. It should be good enough. Not ideal, but. Do. There they are. Diagonal angle. Right into the thick of them. Get this Ned back out of the way. Oh, I guess this guy's fishing here too. Oh no, he's gonna move on. We gotta keep moving though. Keep rolling on through. Keep rolling on through. All right. So it's 4 o'clock right now. We're starting to sneak into the territory where I should start thinking about heading back to the house. After travel, I gotta drive over to the landing, tighten up my boat a little bit, put the boat on the trailer, drive home, get food prepped. Gotta make sure I'm ready for tip off. I should have wore it too. I just bought a Jaden McDaniels jersey. My favorite Timberwolf right now, so I'm not really a jersey guy usually, but I'm starting to get a couple of them. I only had one jersey growing up as a kid for any sports team. It was Joe Mauer. He was far and away my favorite, so he's the only jersey I'd ever bought up until this year. But then I did end up grabbing a Vikings jersey and a Timberwolves jersey, so now I've got a bunch of jerseys. All right, that walleye is coming in and checking out that drop shot I just threw in there. Let's keep cruising while we jig it here. Oh, he's got it. Oh, shoot. Missed him. Missed him. Mista. Let's see, where's he at? He didn't look, well, there he is. Yeah, he didn't look big. I could turn around and throw a jig at him, but if I really needed him, I could do that, but we're gonna keep cruising because I really do want to target bigs only for the rest of this run here. Let's not re-rig this one yet. All right, we got some stand-up weeds here on the top. Let's see, does this dump off? Where does this dump off into? So now we're going from this hole up onto like a little saddle between the hole and then kind of like the main lake, and then we have like a little inside corner that we get to check out as well. So we'll run through and kind of finish this spot out. Man, the only downside of these really light colored shirts is that they do get dirty. I'm gonna have to throw this one in the wash. Let's see if there's any fish up here in the weeds too. Really not seeing much at all. Good looking weeds though. A lot of times you'll see fish scattered around weeds like this. Right now it's just bait, a lot of bait. There's a little bit of some bait here, some bait there. There's one fish right there, like 20. Pretty close to him now, but you get the idea. Ooh, is he turning up? Anyway, yeah, there's bait to the left here. There's just bait everywhere, man. Looks like there might be a couple fish right in there. There's definitely some fish inside the weeds there. Pulling it through the weeds. All right, so we're just getting past the end of the saddle here, and we're dipping out into the next deep side of this. We gotta just see real quick if there's one floating out off the drop off here. We're just starting to get into it. We got some bait floating around, of course. You guys have seen your fair share of bait today, haven't you? That's it, just bait. That's all there is right on the mouth here. Let's kick this out just to make sure we're not missing something a little further out, but otherwise it's just looking like a big pile of bait stacked up in the corner here. Spin it around a little, and that's it. Another thing we're gonna move spots, first of all. But quick little tip while we're still here, is just talking about just gain when you're using forward-facing sonar. Like I really like to, you'll notice like this is how I like to run my gain, is like, I like to run it right in that range where it's like, you can see a little, you don't have like a super clean screen. You have like a little bit of extra fuzz in the screen. And for me, that's perfect because when you do see a fish, it's really gonna stick out. You don't have to wait and see if you can see a little speck on the clean screen. So like if I clean it up, you know, down, 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 down. Like, I don't know, some people would like to fish like this, I would say. That definitely can work, but you're just gonna have so much more information when you have it a little bit higher. So up, 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 even like up like that is decent. How much higher can you do? Plus, plus, plus. I mean, you could even fish like this too. The reason why I'm not necessarily fishing this high is because, let's see, where's the shallows? To our left here. Once you scoot up into the shallows, the shallower you are, the lower you want the gain to be. Because once we get up into the shallows, it's like really gonna blow out, especially once you get around weeds. Like when I get around weeds, a lot of times I'll pop it down into like a more manageable amount. Like we're not in the weeds right now, but you guys kind of get the idea. But if you want like all of my exact settings, I do have a video on the channel. I don't know if it was like maybe 15, 20, maybe 20 videos ago, breaking down all of my settings. And you can copy and paste those settings and put them into your graph. And honestly, I think they would get you 95% of the way. Copying these settings and then just slightly adjusting, mostly adjusting, you know, whatever, gain and, you know, all the different other little things. You can just make micro tweaks, but for the most part, what I like to do is just look at what I'm seeing and adjust it from there. But once you get your settings mostly dialed in, I found the only thing you really have to play with is your gain and then kind of your range setups. So we're gonna get to the next spot. So cue the fast forward. All right, next spot. Come on now. There we go. All right, so we're on a couple deep humps now. So we're just gonna rip through here. You can see the gain is definitely, I was adjusting it too much earlier when I was talking. So we'll keep this range out a little bit. You can see you can't quite see over the top of that hump there. We're just gonna rip around this a little. This is kind of like a little bit of a hump complex. So we're gonna follow these humps until we get to kind of this shallower spot where there should be some weeds up on top. But I don't think any of these humps are gonna have any weeds. So we're gonna roll pretty quick through. We got our range out pretty high. We're just gonna be looking for suspendos. Suspendos are my favorite. Zelda's eyeing the jet skiers over there. So one thing I've figured out with my pup is she never eats. She never eats on the boat for some reason. She's either up interested in what's going on with the boats, looking down at the water, watching the fish, or she's just laying down and chilling. Right now she's chasing bugs. She's trying to eat bugs. But she never eats her food. I always bring her food out here and she never eats it. I'm not seeing anything on these humps so far. Definitely could be a week or two too early for these big sort of main lake humps. So this section of the lake, we're 63 degrees. Yeah, I could definitely see these humps starting to fill up once we get to like high 60s or something like that. Maybe 70 degrees. We might be a little bit off, but I like to check them just in case. If you can get them, if you can get the fish on the first day that they slide up onto these humps, that can be a really fun bite. That's why I kind of do like the June bite. June is really cool because you're kind of getting the best of both worlds, where the fish are still somewhat bitey. You know, they're excited to move, they're excited to bite, but they're also starting to slide up into some of these, slide out into some of these summer locations. And they're just a lot easier to find on these summer locations, at least for me on a lot of these lakes that I fish. So I just gotta check. I gotta make sure all the cameras are running. So this one's at, this camera says 3 hours and 20 minutes. So you take out a few of those fast forwards. We're probably at three hours or so. But it says the camera has 45 minutes left on the card. So we're shooting in 4K. So don't have a lot of fishing time left. So I think this will be the last spot. This is a pretty good spot though. I have fished this one before. Today we've mostly fished stuff I've never fished before. Looking at it, checking it out. That one spot that I was kind of talking about being the complex, that's one that I'm gonna remember going forward. I think that I'm gonna add that one to my arsenal. But otherwise, pretty much, well, I guess the very first spot we fished to, I've fished that one before. That's pretty much the only one that I've fished before today. And then this one that we're on right now. So we're gonna be getting up to the juicier part of this spot here pretty soon. But yeah, it's been kind of cool looking around at new spots. I've obviously fished this lake before, you know, plenty. Like I said, we do tournaments out here sometimes during the summer. So I'm familiar with the lake in general, but most of it I've never fished before because it's just so big. And when I say big, I don't mean that it's like enormous, like giant. It's just there's so much structure. We got one out at the end there. Right next to that weed tuft. Oh, a couple right on top of that weed tuft. So I love exploring these lakes though, because you got events out here and you're always looking for that next little advantage. Like I was talking about before too, excuse me, sometimes you got to adjust the gain a little bit. When you get shallow and you get around weeds, you got to turn it down a little bit. All right, what do we got? There's the tuft we were looking at. Nothing looks too interesting on that. Got some taller weeds running through this area, which I like to see. I like to see some mix of weeds oftentimes. It's nice to see multiple different weed types. Tall stuff is always good too. Bump that gain down a little bit. If we're gonna look around in the weeds here. This is the kind of spot where you can find some big ones up in the weeds too. Always got to check over your back just in case you see one floating around off a structure. Not a lot that's looking interesting here yet. Zelda just sighed. She's living the life. She's got nothing to worry about, and I just heard her sigh. There's a lot going on over here, but not necessarily what I'm looking for yet, per se. Could maybe make a little cast at him. Looks like there's a little pot of them though. Oh, he grabbed it. I think that's a bass, right? Yeah. What do you think of him, Zelda? Biggest fish in the lake. I can't tell if you like licking them or you're just trying to get the water that's dripping off of them. When you have a perfectly good bowl of water back there. All right, this is gonna be one of those crawlers where I'm gonna risk it and then regret it when I cast at a big fish. We're a little bit up in the weeds here. Let's give us a little bit of latitude for looking around up here. These weeds are like going almost all the way up to the surface. A little something in between. Doesn't look too dissimilar from that teeny little bass we just caught. It's definitely some action. You could fan cast a Ned rig in this area and probably catch a bunch of largies. There's a couple fish out there at the end. 80 feet. What do we got? I think I like that one, I think. We'll line them up. Doesn't look too big, but definitely possible, but almost want to just save my cast. Oh gosh. That just, I'm gonna reel up before I get bit. Just screams LMB. They're having a good time. All right, there's one. I think I should cast at that guy though. That one is worth casting at. We gotta replace the crawler. Pretty much it seems like no matter what you do, catching one fish of any size is gonna do enough damage to the crawler that it's gonna just start ripping apart. There's just no good way around it. So we're gonna rig up with one more crawler here as we poke around this spot and see what we can find. Thread that puppy on there. Kind of got to take your time with the stand-up jigs. It just takes a second. You got to push it, and you don't want to force it. You don't want to force that crawler over the keeper because you don't want to rip that crawler up or whatever. But if you just slowly work it over, you can get that crawler over the top there, and just stays on there like glue. That one came up fast. He just hit it. Got him, and hope he dropped it. Hope he grabbed it again. God, that feels like a bass. That was definitely a bass. And I still have most of my crawler. Still have enough of it. It's looking a little bit like a Ned rig now, but will be good enough if I find anything worthy of casting up here. Oops, pump that range down a little bit so you can see towards the bottom there. And also, let's kick that out to 175 again so we can see what we got going here. We won't spend too much more time here. I do think we got to take off, pack up, put the boat on the trailer. In fact, I think we might just call it right here. I mean, we can keep on looking around up here, but we've already caught a number of fish here today. Or not here today, but on this lake today. We've caught a number of fish today and kind of running out of things to talk about. So, thank you for watching all the way to the end of this video. My camera says I have 30 minutes of recording time left on there, so seems like a good time to wrap it up. Yeah, if you enjoyed watching this video, honestly, I think you would also enjoy watching this video. And the reason why you're gonna enjoy watching that video is because it's also a raw and uncut video. It was from last year, because obviously this season is mostly just kind of started up here in Minnesota. And if you wanna watch more raw and uncut action, check out that video. Shares a bunch of good tips, and you'll get to see more walleye catching action that's raw, real, and kind of semi live. So check out that video right now.